Today I'm going to take a snowmobile cylinder that's complete crap and make it extremely good. This cylinder was absolute crap at the start of this video. It had aluminum deposits in the bore from a scuffed and melted piston. Someone had used the wrong piston, so the bore size was not big enough. It didn't have enough clearance for the proper piston. And by the end of the video, we even fixed a taper. So I am shooting a new intro on this because the original intro was me, Dennis, and Lonnie, and we thought we would just clean up the aluminum deposit, give it a quick crosshatch, and we'd be rebuilding the motor that day. Well, that's not how it worked out. So keep watching and learn all about snowmobile cylinder reconditioning.
He's running over that.
No. All right, here's the smear, the aluminum smear from that melted piston. As you can see, it's quite 3D and it goes down quite far. It's only really on that exhaust side over there. So what we've got is muriatic acid. This stuff is dangerous. You're going to notice we're wearing safety gear, like glasses, and I'm going to have the full face shield on. What I do is I always find a paint can, and I pour a little shot into the middle part. And that gives me the extra to contain any spill. And then later when I want to dispose of it, I can start diluting it down. But I never dip right out of the bottle because I try not to contaminate the bottle. I try to keep that at full strength. So we'll get going with that. All right, essentially it's like a half a shot of muriatic. That's a brake cleaner plastic cap because it doesn't seem to hurt that. And this is just a cheap acid brush. And can you see that foaming in there? There, give me the light, Lon. Yeah. Or you get the light. And look at that. Gets right after that aluminum. Oh, and it smells delicious too.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah.
Now we could just try to hone this out, but this shit will clog your hone stones really quick.
So now, how do you clean that off after you've got the aluminum off of the inside of there?
Garden hose.
Oh, okay. So you actually do have to pressure wash it or whatever.
Yeah, just garden hose it. Dilution is your friend.
Right, right.
And you know,
that goes a long ways down that cylinder too, doesn't it? Holy crap.
Yeah, it goes down about halfway down the exhaust.
It does, yep.
You could see where it is. I mean, it turns white as soon as the acid touches it.
Yep.
We got a long ways to go.
It's gonna take a minute.
Yeah, we can come back when we're done. All right, here it is after the muriatic. You could see it flash rust. I rinsed it with the garden hose, and it flash rusted right away. Looks like maybe a little aluminum down there. It wasn't dissolving anymore. We're just going to move on to the honing phase quick. I think we can get that out. The chunks up here were massive. We're rid of those. So let's hone it. All right, we're going to use the stick hone on this. Here's the stick hone. And we got to set this up right. So this is currently set up for a 340, and we got to go to taller stones and taller wipers. Down here I got the whole assortment, and it lists the range and all that. So we know this is a 72 millimeter, which is not quite 3 inches. So that's 2.0 to 2.5, 2.75. Hopefully that's it, 2.75. So this whole row is 2.35 to 2.75, and then it's got different grits. I've got 80, 180, and 280. So I'm going to start with the 80 grit on this, and hopefully it'll reach it.
That's pretty aggressive, isn't it?
Yeah, grit? We got some big, nasty stuff to knock off of there, Lonnie.
Yeah, right on.
So I'm just going to swap out these parts. They go in the empty one.
All right, what do we got going on now?
We're centering up the cylinder before we go too crazy honing it. So, if you see the gauge there, I'm basically moving it until I get the least amount of movement on the gauge. Looks like it's the other movement. Too far.
Too far.
Oh, there. I gotta look at it.
Yeah.
There we go. Good enough for what we're doing. That'll work.
Okay. Good enough.
Good enough. All right, we're starting to hone it. Oh, I gotta get some more oil. All right, we're starting to hone it, so I just flood it with oil basically. Can't have too much. Just clean it up afterwards. All right, these are brand new stones, so the corners are wearing off them really fast. So we'll just give it a little more tension. All right. Well, she's getting better. She's way better than it was.
Oh, for sure. Based on what I can see on this side.
Yeah. No, it's good. We'll maybe give her
a little bit on that side yet.
Yeah, well, that'll mostly be okay. That's more like a shadow. That's nothing you can catch your fingernail on.
Got it.
And we're not trying to oversize this cylinder. We're just trying to clean it up. And hopefully we'll still be within limits on piston skirt clearance and ring end gap. A little bit. We'll give her one more, but that's about it. All right, we're done honing. Let me get the light on. So the cylinder looks pretty good. You know, there's a couple little scratches, but geez, it's a used cylinder, and we just gave it a really light hone. So you're looking at the exhaust side right there. That was the worst of it. That was where the aluminum was stuck. I'm pretty happy with that. So my next step is to run in the house down to the laundry tub, and I wash this out with Tide or whatever other branded detergent my wife has down there, mainly in the cylinder. That grit will stay embedded in the cylinder, and some kind of detergent's the only thing that'll get it out. I've heard Dawn dish soap might work pretty good too, but I'm going to go do that and get the grit out before we even try to measure anything. All right, so I'm measuring the piston now across the skirt and just getting a real good feel of what it is, where it is. Yeah, that's about it. So we're going to lock this right here. We don't even care what the measurement is necessarily, because it gets matched up to the dial bore gauge, which is all askew. All right, we'll bring you back when we got the dial bore gauge set up. All right, I'm laughing because this is like take 2. So
12.
Take 12. So I mic'd the piston very carefully. I went over and put it in some rags in the vise and made sure I got the mic just right, and I'm pretty happy with that. Then I went over and put this in the vise. You actually calibrate the dial bore gauge to the mic, and that's how you get it to read. And now, with the dial bore gauge calibrated to the mic, I run it in here. Sorry, it's kind of at an angle. Now we can read what our clearance is. And our piston clearance is not good. It's less than 1/1000th of an inch. It's about a 1/2 thou. So we have some honing to do, because I looked up the spec on this, and it's 5.5 to 7.5 thou. So we got to hone 5 thou out of that cylinder. It's a lot, and that deepens.
We'll be out that for a while.
Well, it deepens the mystery of what the heck was this piston. And what size was it? Because this thing's got clearance in there, right? She's got a couple thou. I think it might have been tight. That's why it scuffed the skirts. But what was it? This is clearly not a 244 piston. Alright, so we've been honing it like that till the bite goes out of the stones. And now we've done that about 8 times. Now I'm going to check and see how far we've honed it. So, need to give it a little paper towel wipe. Boy, there's no scratches showing anymore. So I do have my digital readout zeroed. So I can wind that over, and Lonnie brought me the dial bore gauge still set up. Well, we're at about, we've went from no clearance or half a thou clearance to about 2 thou of clearance. So we got a ways to go, but we're getting there. That's 1.5, and
What were we looking for? 5 thou?
5.5 minimum, it said.
Okay.
Yeah, which sounds really loose to me, but it's a 72 millimeter bore and it's a cast iron bore, so you never know. The piston's going to heat up faster than the bore.
Yep.
And so it probably does need to be pretty loose on this.
Yep.
And I'll run a TXL at 5 thou because it's liquid cooled with a cast iron bore.
Yep.
Much smaller. This is fan cooled. I don't know. It seems to make sense. We're going to go to 5.5.
Okay. Back to boring.
All right, so a lot of time has passed since I last worked on the cylinder honing project for this 244 single. And so last time, I think the lesson learned was that the hone I was using was just not adequate. It was too small. It was too light duty. We actually maxed out and reached the end of its size capacity before I got there, before I got the cylinder to size. So I bought a better hone. So I bought this. This is a Sunnin AN 112 hone, and it's a real good old vintage hone, although they still sell these today. So it's another rigid stone hone, but this one goes huge. This one can do car and even truck cylinders. And I don't know what to say, that it's nicer hone. It uses these standard Sunnin size or Sunnin type stones. And it came with a couple different drivers. Well, it came with one. It came with this one that's way too long. I just don't have the space between the mill head and the cylinder for that one. So my first thought, so those drivers just have a 7/16 14 thread. So I made a couple. I made this one out of hex stock. Threads right in real nice. But the problem is I have to run it in the drill chuck. And the drill chuck, I could use that headspace. So I just machined this one out of some 3/4 cold rolled. And I like it. I can run this in a 3/4 inch collet, which I can basically suck it all the way up into the spindle. So I'm going to do some work, get things cleaned out, and I'll bring you back. One thing about this, now, I got directions with these stones, and this stuff's old, but you can still buy it. And the directions said to use it dry. And since I don't really have the right honing oil, I'm going to use it dry. So I got to pull the cylinder off, clean off all the oil. I'll get the table cleaned up here, and then we'll get after it again and give it another try and see if I can get this cylinder to size. Okay, we are set up to hone with my very new to me but antique old hone. Alright, not going to go too crazy on the pressure for the first cut. Let's hope this works right. Alright. Took the sharp edge right off those fresh stones, right like that. So I'm concentrating at the bottom now because that other hone put a lot of taper into it. So we're going to try to straighten that out first. That little bit almost got it straight. says when it's chattering, increase pressure. Let's see what that does. Ooh, that's looking good. Straightened her right out. So I'm at 4 thou clearance. I need to get to about 6. Gonna go look up how much clearance I should leave for the finishing stones. All right, my super antique instructions say to leave 2.5 thou for the polishing stones. Now, there is a little area right at the top that I barely touched, so I'm going to give it one quick pass with the roughing stones, and then we're going to get to the final stones and polish it to size. All right, last pass. We're going to make some full strokes top to bottom. Perfect. We're at 4.5 thou top and bottom. Let me bring you over and give you a look at the cylinders there. All right, here's what this looks like. Really nice uniform crosshatch. It's just a bit on the coarse side, and you know, we got 1.5, maybe 2 thou left to go. So I'm going to switch over to from the AN 100 stones to the AN 200 stones and finish this thing out. All right, this is the AN 200 stones. They're like 150 grit. Maybe a little coarse for the chrome plated rings, but we'll do this and maybe we'll hit it with the 300s. Let's see how it works. Right at 5. Top and bottom are the same. 90 degrees is the same. So that's good. I got a round cylinder. Need to get at least another 1/2 thou, if not a whole thou. All right, 5.5 thou. That's the tight side of the spec. I'm going to give it a little bit more. I'm going to take it out to 6 thou. Right on at 6. Perfect 6 thou, like I was shooting for. Six thou at the bottom. And the 90-degree check. 6 thou. All right, let's call that done. All right, so here's a comparison of the two hones. This is the one I started with. This is a Lyle, I think 16,000 or something. It's a small engine hone. It really wasn't up to the task. Plus, I was pushing the limits of its size. You know, seemed like a good idea. I have done a 340 with it successfully. But that's a way smaller bore. Now, this is the Sun and AN 112. And she's an engine hone meant to do car engines, truck engines, whatnot. You can get extensions and go out over a foot on bore with these. It's heavy duty. And, you know, the adjustment worked better. The stones work better. The guides work better. Everything about it worked better. This sunning right here, that sunning completely lived up to my expectations. Not only did it take off material fast, but it straightened out the taper the other hone left, and it left what I think is an awesome finish, which let me bring you in here and we'll wipe off a little bit of the hone dust. And really good crosshatch in there. Real good. So I'm real happy with that. I'm ready to put this cylinder back into service. All right, now that I'm done honing that cylinder, I need to break all the edges of all the ports. So right now, I removed a lot of material, and they're razor sharp. So I'm going to go around with these stones. You can see this one's well used. These are just random stones. You can buy these stones off of Amazon or whatever. They're kind of like sharpening stones. Machinists use them for deburring stuff. They come in different shapes. I got a triangle here that's worn pretty much to round. I got some squares. I know somewhere I have a round one that I'm going to dig up that really helps to get into those corners. Don't forget to do that. Otherwise, it'll tear up your rings, maybe even your piston skirt. I haven't really heard of that. But if you leave those corners razor sharp, that's bad. And then I do want to say, if you're just doing a ball hone to put a crosshatch in a cylinder, especially if it's a Nickel or chrome cylinder, you probably don't need to do this, right? This is when you're removing significant material. Say you're opening up bigger clearances on the skirt, for example, or if you're trying to hone it out 10 thou overbore or even 20, then you got to break those edges with the stone. All you got to do is break them. You don't need a big chamfer, but you do have to do something there. Before I get into the closeout, I do want to say one thing that I haven't mentioned yet. This is really for cast iron bores. This is not what you'd use for Nickel or older chrome cylinders. You need a ball hone for that, and you can consult with the ball hone manufacturer about what grit and what size you should get for what cylinder. They've got great charts, so check that out if that's what you're doing. This is more for your, obviously, Colt 244, Indy Trail 488, Indy 500 cylinders with a cast iron liner. All right, I'm going to wrap up the video here. Let me grab the cylinder again and try to give you another good look in there at the hatch. Boy, that came out nice. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a learning experience for me. I have done bore and hone on other cylinders in that mill, but it was smaller bore, and that cheaper hone that I had handled it. So is this something you want to do at home? For most people, probably not. But realistically, you could. So what do you need? Well, first off, get a good quality hone. These things, you could check eBay. They go for about $350, $400 used. And then you got to buy the stones. But go right for the good quality hone right off the bat. I'm not sorry about that, Lyle. It did good for me on some other jobs, but this is a lot better. So you need the hone, and then you need some measuring tools, right? You need a micrometer, you need a dial bore gauge, you need to learn how to use them. And the best place to learn how to use these is to go out to some machinist YouTube videos and watch those. These guys will give you a way better tutorial than I ever could give you. So, I don't know. It's not that hard. You could do it if you want. According to the instructions, you can actually run that hone in a drill. They recommend a big drill, like a 5/8 drill, that goes as low as 250 or 300 RPMs. I was running that at 350 on my mill there, just to give you a reference. So, I don't know. You could do this at home, but I think for most people, it's probably just the curiosity of seeing how a guy does this in his home shop. You know, a sled enthusiast would do this. So with that said, I want to say huge thanks to the patrons. You can see their names up here. You guys are the best. I really appreciate your support of the channel. For everybody that doesn't know, the patrons give us a little bit of support every month because they appreciate the videos. They keep the beer and pizza and parts and tool fund going for us. And without them, I don't know if we'd still have videos going or not. I really appreciate the support. Everybody else, please hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit that notification bell. It really helps us. And we'll see you on the trails if we ever get any snow.